not hold on for the last two people who had signed up. So in case we haven't met, my name is Jonathan Sikora. I work over in the IT department. I work with Gene Kleppinger on Blackboard support, and I've been doing a lot of these Blackboard trainings. This is a little different than the trainings I normally run. This is the first TLI session I've ever done, so hope you'll bear with me as we'll try to work through this. I'm going to try to have this be a little more interactive than my normal trainings, and we'll see how that goes. So hopefully we can get some good discussion going on. So since this is going to be more interactive and sort of collaborative, I guess, since it's collaborating on, I'll go around and have everybody introduce themselves. If that's okay.
I'm Steve Baraka. I teach in the Department of Government and Economics.
Okay.
Hi, and I'm Dr. Jill Cornelison. I teach in baccalaureate and graduate nursing.
Lauren Childs. I work as an academic advisor in teaching.
Caitlin Dory. I work as an advisor in the campus as well.
Alana again. I teach in theater.
All right, thank you. All right, so how many of you have gone through one of my Collaborate or SAS training sessions? I think a couple of you guys have. I think you went to one just recently. Okay, so we got about half and half. So let's do a quick overview of Collaborate. Can everybody read that okay? It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah, we'll make it.
Okay. So a couple of things about Collaborate. So Collaborate is part of the new Blackboard SAS system. So it's already been purchased, it's paid for, all classes have it available. So what it is it's a synchronous communication tool. So that means this is ideal for if everybody's going to be online at the same time, is really what Collaborate's built for. So the idea would be if you're, maybe you'll have class online one day, and, you'll say okay, at 6 o'clock, I don't know, maybe there'll be an ice storm or something, and, you'll say at 6 o'clock we're going to have class. Instead of having everybody drive to campus, you can just log in from your dorm room or your house, and we'll do it on Collaborate, or you can use it for other kind of meetings or anything like that. But anything that's happening at the same time that's synchronous. Like I said, it's already paid for, so this is available. This tool is available in all the courses, so it's available in your course today. Also, all organizations have access to Collaborate as well. So in the organization area, you'll have a Collaborate area for each organization. So I know you guys use organizations a lot. So. As far as how it works, it uses what's called WebRTC. That's just sort of the protocol it uses. The cool thing about WebRTC is that all of the newer web browsers, the more up-to-date ones, so like Edge, Chrome, Firefox, they have WebRTC already built into them. So that means you don't have to download a client. So like I know you had mentioned, because with nursing, you guys use Adobe AnyConnect a lot. And students have to download and install a client, and sometimes that can be a problem. Also, if you've got a student who's got a work computer that they're using, they may not be able to install software on that computer. So, if they're at the last minute trying to use their work laptop because their home computer died or their kid's on it or something, then they're going to be in trouble if they have to install a client. But with WebRTC, you don't have to install anything. There's a couple other tools that use. Some will use like ActiveX controls or Flash Player or things like, or Java. This doesn't use any of that. It uses this WebRTC piece. Now, if you use an older web browser, so if you use Internet Explorer or Safari, which we don't recommend, and I would strongly encourage your students not to use either of those. But if you do, it'll try to use Flash Player, is what it will use on those older ones. But WebRTC generally works better. It's a system that's built into those browsers for web conferencing, because there's so many of these web conferencing solutions these days that they wanted to the companies all wanted to kind of standardize something. Another nice thing about Collaborate is it's mobile friendly, so this will work on, your students can use it on their phone, on a tablet, which is definitely nice for a lot of students as well. A lot of students, maybe, not all students have a desktop computer necessarily, or even a laptop, or if their laptop is having a problem, they can always sign in using their phone. So there's 3 apps that it could possibly use, depending on kind of circumstances. So the Blackboard, the student app, the one that's just called Blackboard, has Collaborate built into it. So if they go into their course and click on the Collaborate link, it'll go ahead and open the Collaborate session. They can do it all on their phone. The Instructor app, which is just called Instructor, which is the new Blackboard Instructor app, also can do Collaborate sessions. And then there's a dedicated Collaborate app if you've got someone that just wants to use Collaborate but isn't a student or instructor. So you can do guests with the Collaborate sessions where you send somebody a guest link, and you can send that out to anybody. Like literally anyone in the world, if you send that link to, can join in. They don't have to have an EKU account. They don't have to have a Blackboard account or be enrolled in the class or anything. So you can use that for, maybe you've got a guest speaker, like maybe you've got a nurse that is going to do that's been a nurse for 20 years that wants to do a Q&A for your students. I don't know if that's a realistic scenario, but
Very realistic.
okay. You might send them this guest link and then be like, hey, everybody, if you sign on at
Right.
7 o'clock, she'll be doing this Q&A for an
Right.
hour or whatever. So we can do some stuff like that. But they might use if they're going to try to do it on the phone, they might use the Collaborate app.
Sure.
And it'll prompt them, I believe, if they click on that link in an email, their phone will prompt them like, hey, you need to install this app, and it'll take them to the App Store so they can install it.
Do they have to have a certain email, or do they have to be affiliated with an institution?
Nope.
Anyway? No.
Nothing like that. You can, like I said, you can send that link to literally anybody.
Okay.
And
So
they
we
can use it.
create the link.
Yeah, I'll show you how to make it here in a second. You
That's a
just,
good
you just get it.
question.
You just get it in the It's tied to the session that you
Okay.
make. In
Oh,
Collaborate.
okay.
And we're gonna have you guys log in here in a second, and we'll play around with this a bit.
Okay.
Then of course, because it's a web conferencing tool, it's got all the usual features. So you can do audio, you can do webcam video, you can do like typed chat, you can share files through it. Certain types of files you can present. So like PowerPoints, you can present through it. And, images and PDFs are the three. They're going to add video, but it's not in there yet. Like video files, to where you can share that out to the class.
Can you make a video through Collaborate?
You can record a Collaborate session,
Okay.
yes.
All
So
right.
you can also, good question as well, so you can also record those. Now, a word about the recordings. The recordings there's no way to set permissions for the recordings. So if you make a recording, it's available to everybody that's in that class. So just keep that in mind when you're
Sure.
recording sessions. Don't use Collaborate. Some people are talking about using Collaborate for office hours is one use of it. So if you're having a conversation about a student's grades, maybe don't record that because then anyone in the class would be able to go and watch it. Then you have foreplay issues. So that's no good. And then you can also do screen sharing. So you can share just like an individual application on your computer or your full screen. So you can use it to present. If you've got maybe you want to show your students how to. Maybe there's a government website you want to show your students how to use. You can show them your web browser and walk them through the whole process. So that's just kind of a quick overview of sort of what Collaborate does. Any questions about any of that?
Why is this better than Adobe? Besides
Oh.
the fact that Adobe is going away, isn't it?
Yeah, well, eventually it might be. The nursing department, I know, it's better in some ways, and it's got a few limitations. So I wouldn't say that it's out and out better than Adobe. Like any set of tools, there's strengths and weaknesses to it. It's a newer system, so I think it gets a little bit better connectivity.
Okay.
That's not to say that its connectivity is perfect all the time. It definitely isn't. We have had cases where, especially if a student's on a bad Wi-Fi connection, they might drop in and out a little bit. And audio and video, and the more things you share anytime you're using any of these, the worse your connection gets, because everything you share adds to the bandwidth. So if you've got your audio turned on, and your video on your webcam, and you're sharing your screen, that's going to take the maximum amount of bandwidth. So your audio might start to cut in and out, or your video might get choppy. It seems to favor audio, and so it'll give you a choppier video before it starts to cut into the audio. Is my experience. If you're having a bad connection, it'll try to favor audio. It does have. If you do have somebody who's having a bad connection, which we've got a lot of students that are in rural areas and don't have good high-speed internet. So if you run into that, it does have a join by phone option as well. And actually, just yesterday they added a new feature to the join by phone where it's got an anonymous phone number that you can give out to somebody. So that's pretty cool. So your students will have some options as far as that for dialing in. I don't know if Adobe AnyConnect has the join by phone feature offhand.
I've
You
never
get a
used it,
phone
so I
number.
don't know.
So it may. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'm not a extremely high level Adobe AnyConnect user. I've used it
I'm
a few
not
times.
sure I am
but
either, but
I'm not great at it.
I just use it and it's.
Yeah, but like I said, Adobe has the client that you have to install, and it's a bit of an older client. Sometimes that can cause it to have issues. So, and then the other advantage that this has is your department doesn't have to pay for the licenses for it because it's already paid for. So that would be a big advantage that it has over Adobe is that you don't have to fork out extra money for licenses. So let's go ahead and dig in and take a look. So if you guys log into Blackboard, with your faculty staff account, you should have a course now that's for the Collaborate TLI session. So go ahead and go into that TLI course, and then you can get to Collaborate if you go to tools in the course.
Now, if I go to Blackboard,
Yeah, go into Blackboard.
go
now.
into Blackboard and go to the Collaborate
There should be a course that's Collaborate TLI.
because of what we're in.
Yeah, because what
Okay.
we're in now. Yeah.
Alrighty,
So.
yeah, I see it.
Are you having trouble with Wi-Fi or?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Once I plugged it in.
I think there's actually if you unplug from the wall, there's actually a port in the floor here that will probably work. I haven't tested the port in the floor, but yeah, if you flip up that part.
Well, now it's showing it's connected. No.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to back out of my presentation here and go into the course myself. All right, so once you go into the Collaborate TLI training, you should be to here. Wow, that is actually quite out of focus. It's not great.
Can you turn this one light off? That might make
That might help. Yeah, let's try that. Sorry, Paul, I hope this doesn't mess with your lighting.
No, it's a coffee bush.
Let's try that. Sorry about that. All right, so where you'll go to get to Collaborate, and in your courses as well, is if you go to Tools, then under the Tools, there is Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. That's like the full long name for Collaborate. I just call it Collaborate. That's what most people have been referring to.
Is this what it's going to look like in our Blackboard site?
Yes.
Go to Tools
Yes.
and then go to Play.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can make a link over on the left-hand side. Like if you're going to use it a lot, you might want to. You can do a tool link, and then it'll ask what tool, and then you tell it Blackboard
Okay.
Collaborate Ultra, so you can make an easier link for your students. And like I said, this is live in your course, like right now in all your classes
Okay.
at the moment. So this is going to take you to this session room review. So each session is like a room in Collaborate that if students go into, they can go in and they can they can then talk to each other. There's a course room that's by default kind of always available. You can lock it if you don't want students to be able to use it. But I think the course room is nice because that's a space where students can go and talk to each other and work together. You don't have to be there or turn it on or do anything. That's just kind of always there. So I think that could be good for like if you've got some students that are wanting to do like a study session or something. Maybe they're commuters or they're online students, and they don't want to like all drive to Richmond. They could be like, okay, let's meet at the course room at 8 o'clock and study for the test.
I know I'm asking a lot of questions.
No,
So could,
but as long as the course room's open, they can just meet in the course room.
okay.
But they can't create their own sessions. You would have to create sessions. But you can create as many sessions as you want on this series. Yeah.
But if I want to collaborate with these two people and those two people want to collaborate,
You would want two different spaces probably for that. Or there's a breakout groups function, but an instructor would have to be there to turn on the breakout group. So that might be.
Are you going to show us how to do that?
Yes, I will. Yeah. We'll talk about
because
that.
if there were even two spaces, then I would feel like
Yeah.
there's
Well,
always
you can make. So what you
Yeah.
do?
no excuse.
Yeah. So what you could do is in your classes, if you go into the tool, you can just hit create session, and you can do like study space 1, and you can make it an open-ended session, so a session that doesn't end, and then save that. So now you've got a study space 1, and then you can make a study space 2, or however many you want, and then you can tell your students, just use one of the study spaces.
Great. So then I've effectively got more course rooms.
Yeah, you can have as many course rooms as you. I don't think there's a limit on the number of sessions. I know I've had like 15 or 20 in one test course that I was using, and it didn't complain at me. So I haven't gone past that. Yeah.
Maybe you're going to get to this, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's good. Yeah.
When you click on that link in Tools, it creates a session, or you need to create...
You need to create the session in the class.
After.
Now, you guys on this course, you won't see this create session button right now where you're logged in, because you're not the instructor in this class. I enrolled you guys as
There you
students
go.
in this
But
class.
we would,
So that's
that's
the
what we
difference.
would see.
But you would see
That
this
is
create
exactly
session
my
button.
question.
It's kind of hard to see it there. But yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. You won't be seeing that right now.
Okay.
But on your courses, you'll see this.
Okay,
So.
so then you put create session. Okay.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and join a session so we can take a look at stuff. Now, one thing, once we join this session, please don't unmute your mic, because if you unmute, if we start having mics unmuted, we're going to get feedback because we're all here in the same room. So so we'll leave all the mics muted for the moment.
Oh, and an anonymous dial-in that pops up too.
Yeah, that's the new feature that just popped up before. So there's this is brand new from like yesterday. This anonymous dial-in. So the old way that you would do dialing in, you'd have to join the session, and then you could hit join by phone, and it would generate for you a phone number and a PIN number like this one. If the problem with that was that PIN number was associated just with you. So if you couldn't share that PIN number with somebody else, because like if you dial in on that PIN number, it's going to turn off the audio on your computer and replace it with your phone audio. So we had there was one instructor during the pilot program that we had for this who was trying to share that number out to. They texted that number to like 4 students, and they were all trying to dial in using that same number. But as far as the system was concerned, the instructor was just dialing in from multiple places. And so, like, every time a new person would dial in, it would turn off the other people's audio and replace it. But this anonymous dial-in number, you could give to a student or a guest or something, and they could dial in and get the audio using that number. So that number isn't tied to anyone in particular. So that could be handy.
So it looks like.
So we'll just join the session now. So everybody go ahead and join.
Moderating.
I'm sorry.
It says that Jill's moderating.
Yeah, I set you guys all up to be moderators.
Oh, okay.
So.
Brady, how'd y'all get that? I've got a tutorial thing. Push later.
Oh, yeah, if you haven't ever signed in before, it should pop up a tutorial for you. So you can just kind of click later on that.
Okay.
And we'll just kind of go through stuff. I see Alana and Jill in here.
I don't see Jill. Will I not see myself?
Until you turn on your webcam, you won't. So there's controls at the bottom here where you can turn on your webcam, turn on your microphone, but don't do the microphone one. And then you can raise your hand. Are you guys getting in okay?
How do I do if I get to start a tutorial?
Oh, I think you should be able to tell it later. Yeah, just hit later.
Okay.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, and it's going to tell you where you can find it later. So let's see if we can close out that. Okay, so you're in this. Is everybody?
I just don't have anything on my training.
Oh, if you hit that bar, go back into the course. Yeah. So hit that like kind of bluish bar there. Yeah, that'll pull up your menu, and then tools. Collaborate, I'm sure. It's that second one. Yeah, there you go.
I reset my EKU password before I came over here. For trying to get into Blackboard, I used my new one. It didn't let me in, so I tried my old one. Didn't let me in.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I
Do you guys?
restarted it.
Okay, yeah. So that might. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit after resetting the password for it to all go through.
Something. I blocked access to my microphone. Did I want to do that?
No, you didn't necessarily need to do that. That's okay. Do try again here. What browser?
Firefox.
It should pop up a thing that asks if you want to allow Collaborate to use like your microphone and camera.
Mine, see, mine always showed up like that.
No.
You might have to, yeah.
Yeah, I said no at first, so it wouldn't have the thing, and it wouldn't let me do anything. You have to share it, and then just move it.
Yeah, and then just leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just move it.
Sorry, I didn't even think about that. I've already
Yeah.
done that. That's a
There you
thing
go.
you just have to do the first time. So.
I apologize. Which one are we going on?
The Collaborate TLI one.
I'm
So.
not to share with her, I think. It won't let me in with
Okay,
my
that,
password.
yeah, that should be, I think that should be.
Okay, sorry.
So, oh, it's okay. Alright, so once you're in, I see we've got several people sharing out their videos. I'll go ahead and share one as well. So of course you get your little video preview of yourself down in the corner, and then it'll show up. There's a lot of us on the Wi-Fi in this room, so that might, we'll see how the Wi-Fi handle. I think the library has pretty good Wi-Fi usually, so it should be pretty good. I think everybody's in. Down in the bottom right, you'll see this purple button. Yes, is that purple? Mm-hmm. And if you click that, that's going to open your Collaborate panel. That's going to give you most of your kind of neat controls that you'll have. So this is where we can do you can do chat. So we'll just do like a hello world here. So you can do type chat as well. So if your microphone isn't working, you can still type in stuff. Or sometimes you'll get a student that prefers to ask a question through typing rather than saying it through the microphone. Down at the bottom, you've got a couple of controls that we'll dig into more here in a second. But you've got your your microphone. That's where you can mute and unmute. But like I said, we're going to leave it all muted since we're all in the same space. And then you've got your video and then the hand raising. So if somebody wants to raise their hand.
The hand raising?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. So you'll get this notification if a student has hit the little raised hand icon. It's next to the video.
Oh, I see. So what do you do with it?
You just click it, and then it gives the notification out that you've raised your hand.
My 7-year-old would
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah. And then you get the lower hand button. So if you're not taking questions, you can like lower a student's hand.
So what do you click on?
Just click on the little person's hand.
Because it didn't,
Right
the
here.
person down here, not
Yes.
up there in their
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is you raising your hand. So see, I just got a notification
All right.
that you
thank
raised your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that notification stay up until you deal with the raised hand?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if we close it. So go ahead and raise your hand again.
Oh, right.
Cool. So you see, it'll just kind of hang out there on my screen.
And so you get the little figure.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and all that does is what? Tell
It
them you
gives-
can talk?
Well, it just gives a notification to you as the instructor that someone has raised their hand, and then it's up to you to decide how you want to handle that. So, that's some of what I was hoping that we could get some discussions going is ways that we could use some of these features.
Okay.
So, one way I could think of that you might use it is, if you've got a big class of 30 people, you might not want 30 open mics the whole time, because then you're going to get, the person whose dog's barking and the kid screaming in the background, and then there's going to be somebody eating chips or something. So you always get those things. So what you might do is have everybody leave their mics muted until they raise their hand, and you call on them, depending on what kind of class you're running and how much interaction you want to have and things like that. So that might be a use for the hand raising. So, and then I'll go ahead and lower Laura's hands now. So then you've got a couple of other, a couple of notes about roles. So there's 3 roles in the system, and we'll probably want to talk about those real quick. So right now, I set up this session so that everybody that joins is a moderator. So you guys all have like all of the controls that you would have as the instructor. By default, students won't have access to quite everything. So they'll have access to these things at the bottom. They can raise their hand, they can turn on their webcam and microphone and all that good stuff. And they can chat with each other. So they can send chat messages back and forth. But they won't have any of these share content options. So if you click on this little screen with the arrow coming out, that's your share option. So that's where you can present, like if you want to present a PowerPoint or something like that. So like I'll do share files, and I'll actually grab my PowerPoint for this presentation.
It doesn't ask you to browse your computer or?
You can do it. If you click on it, it'll let you browse your computer. I just did the drag and drop.
Sure.
Because I just happened to have
You
it.
had it up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hadn't uploaded all of them.
So if I pulled out a whiteboard.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so yes, you've turned on a whiteboard.
there it is.
So yes, now you can. So you've discovered the whiteboard feature. So that's another of the sharing features. It's one of the sharing options.
Share a
I
blank.
wonder if it doesn't want to upload because I've got it open.
Share a file. Oh, so you get to choose.
Yeah, and only one person can share content at a time.
Yeah.
So with the whiteboard, you can type. Yeah, as you saw. We can
Point at it.
here. Yep. Now, one thing with the whiteboard is that if you hit the eraser, it will erase. It clears everything. So the eraser doesn't give you an eraser tool. It just clears the whole whiteboard. To
Have
keep
you
that in mind.
typed into it, or what did you do? Did you use your cursor, your mouse, or?
I pressed on the text, but somehow it all disappeared when I picked out a shape.
Oh, I think somebody clicked the eraser.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, so you can either draw on it if you click the pencil, so you can draw I'm not very good at drawing with a
Yeah.
mouse. I mean, I'm not very good at drawing with a pen and paper either. But or you can do text, or you can do different shapes.
You can point at what's going on.
So you can do like a
right
little ellipse or something. So,
there.
and then
Oh,
if you
this is pretty good.
someone click the eraser. Again, it's because we're all
Oh,
moderators.
yeah, because I'm playing with it. I didn't realize it did that. I did.
Oh, it's okay.
I'll confess.
Yeah, and you'll notice on my screen, so I've got my video preview in the bottom left, and in the bottom right, because this is Alana's whiteboard, we've got her video showing up in the bottom right. So if you're presenting like a PowerPoint or the whiteboard or your screen, or if you're doing screen sharing, the students will still see your video because you're the person presenting. So whoever it is that's doing the presenting will show up down in the bottom.
So would all my students be moderators?
No, not necessarily. I just set that for this session.
Okay.
You could make all your students moderators, but by default they'll be just participants, so they can't share anything out. So a student wouldn't be able to kick on a whiteboard. Only you would be able to
Okay.
do that.
So so if I wanted them to be able to lead a presentation and share a whiteboard, I would have to give them moderator status.
Yeah, you can either give them moderator or presenter status.
Okay.
So presenter's like a middle status where they can do all this sharing, but they can't change. Like they couldn't change someone else's role or change any of the settings in the meeting. All they can do is present. So you might want to just make them a presenter, or you can make them a moderator if you want them to have everything.
Right.
It's just kind of up to you. So. And you do that if you go to the little attendees panel, the one with the two people and the number. If you hit the 3 dots, you can change people's roles. Now, because you're all moderators, I can't demote you into not being a moderator. But if there's someone in that wasn't a moderator, we can promote them to being a. We've got a gift. Cool, perfect. Right, so I'll just take over and present for us.
The secret
The
garden.
secret garden.
Okay, now how do you get out of that?
There's a stop button up in the
Stop
top right
share.
that'll stop the share.
Now, how do I get out of that moderator thing over here on the right?
Oh, which moderator thing?
Where you have a list of us? Do I go back and push this again?
Oh yeah, you can click on, or if you click on the share icon, you can do that. Or if you hit the X, the like purple X in the bottom right corner.
I was afraid they'd take me out of everything.
It doesn't. That'll just close this menu. So if we hit
It
this
closes
X,
the menu.
that just closes the menu and takes you back
That's
to
what
the
I
screen.
needed to know. Perfect, thank you.
So, yeah. And then you can, and students will do this. Doesn't set for the whole meeting, but you can switch to follow the speaker mode, where it'll switch to whoever's talking based on the microphone,
Where do you do that?
up in the top right.
Switch to follow, speaker mode.
Or you can have it be in the group mode, where it'll show like the 4 people who have last spoken. So.
Switch to group mode.
Now, of course, we're all muted at the moment, so it's not switching the way that it would.
So there's only 2 modes, speaker or group.
Yes, those are the only 2 modes for you. So,
And the group is
It's
the
in the
only
very
person
top
that
right.
talked last. Is that
Yes.
what I heard you say? Okay.
yeah, we like the 4 people that talk last.
Okay. I guess I'm in share content. I need to get out of that. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, sometimes in some
Yeah,
of
so
my
close- if you
sessions, they
close
don't
this
say a
menu there,
word. So I'll never see them.
Down there.
Unless you call them out.
Unless I say, Lisa, wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
And
should
then they
be.
have to.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm on a Mac. It should be up in the top right here.
Oh wait, I've gone back to my attendee screen.
Okay. But no, not on the attendee screen, just in the. Here, go ahead and close this.
There's nothing on there.
Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah, because it should be like right here. I'm not sure why you weren't getting that option. Yeah, you're just seeing.
Detach panel. What if it's on the left? Everything on the
Yeah, you're
left.
just seeing mine really large. I'm not certain why that's not giving you that option. Okay.
What am I trying to do?
Oh well, I was just showing how you can switch between the follow the speaker mode, where it'll do the last person that talked really large, or the person who's currently talking, or you can do the group mode where it's going to show the 4 last people
Oh,
talking.
yeah, that's
So,
useful.
yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look into why we're getting that. All right, so a couple of the interaction tools. So we've already taken a look at the hand raising tool. So does anybody have any other ideas for how to use the hand raising? I wasn't sure if anybody would have any other ideas.
Surveys.
Yeah, you could use it for some surveys. Yeah, if it's just a yes or no survey. Another thing you could do to use to do surveys is if you see this like green check mark that's next to like where your picture would be. I don't have a picture set. You can do your My Status and settings. So you can set down here, you can set your little check mark to be an I agree check mark or a disagree, like a little red X, which you could also use to do surveys. So everybody change and set whether you agree or disagree now on yours. So just click down here. It's right to the left of where your microphone is. There we go. Everybody's got it. So now, if you look at the attendee panel that shows all the list of all the people, you can see next to everybody's name what they set. So you could use this for polls as well.
You could.
So you could say like, "Hey, did everybody do the reading like last before class?" And then people could mark yes or no. Of course, everyone will probably mark yes for that one. That's probably a bad example, but if you had a question like that, you could be like, "Hey, does anybody who thinks we need to do more prep for the quiz or something?" But you can use that to do some basic stuff. And then you can also use it, your students can also select these other feedback options. So they could say like, hey, somebody could put a note to go slower, and then, if you get like a number of students that have marked that they would like you to go slower, then you could slow down your lecture, or faster, or they can mark that they're happy, or surprised, or confused. So you might tell your students throughout your lecture, feel free, show them how to use that feedback feature, and tell them like, hey, if you're confused by something I'm saying, like flag yourself as confused, and that could tell you like, hey, maybe I need to roll it back, kind of start from there. And then there's also an away option for if you have to step away during a meeting, so people that you stepped away. I don't know that you necessarily want to encourage your students to use the away feature, but
do students see all of that over there on the other side? So will they see if the majority of their classmates are confused?
I'm not 100% sure who all sees that. I think the participants do see it as well.
Okay.
So that could be a potential concern. Now, if a student wants to reach out to you directly, they can also, under the chat here, if you by default you're in this little everyone one, but if you back out of it, you can find someone to chat with. So if I want to send a message just to Jill, I can do that, and so then she'll just get that message, but the rest of you won't see it.
How did you do that, though? Did you have to click on my name?
At the top here in the chat panel,
Yeah.
you can, if you might be in the everyone one. If you're in everyone, if you hit the arrow next to it, then it says find someone to chat with.
Yeah.
So everybody try just sending a message to somebody. Pick a person and send a quick message to them. You can also, on the participants, the attendees panel, where you can see everybody, if you hit the drop down on anyone, you can send a chat message to them there as well. So you've got a couple of ways you can do that.
Yeah, I see. Okay, I see. They have to be in there, otherwise it won't let you send it. I typed a fake name and it said no.
Oh yes, yeah, you can only send it to somebody who's actually in the.
Because I couldn't remember everybody's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even say anything.
I tried to do a thumbs up and instead of giving it to me, it says thumbs up. Oh no, it gave it to you there.
Yeah.
Oh yes, in the chat, it also you have like some little emojis or whatever that you can do
Oh, they are.
in the chats. So.
How do you send it?
Just hit enter, I think.
Oh, just hit enter.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So if you do like the clap and hit enter, I should have just sent you a
Yes,
little
it
clap
did.
thing. So
Okay,
yeah.
Well, and you have to hit that to enter. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, so you can hit the little smiley face next to where it says
There
say
you go.
something.
And it had to go twice. Huh.
Can you remove
Okay.
conversations, like if you don't want them up here anymore?
Oh, like you're done.
Yeah.
I don't-
Or, like, peace out.
You can go to previous panel.
I think you can go to the previous panel, but I don't think there's a way to
Like actually just like,
actually close it all the way. Yeah. I don't know if there's a way to.
not that that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think the feedback and status tool, like you could definitely use for like quick polling, would be one one good way to use that, because you could do the agree or disagree. I suppose you could have people use the happy, surprised, confused to split themselves into groups maybe or something like that. You could use it as a polling tool. There's a built-in polling tool that gives you kind of more traditional, like you can do yes or no or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 that you can kick off, and then it'll only show people the results after they're done. But if you want to do something real quick and you don't want to go in and like launch that polling tool, I think you could use the little agree or disagree and the little status panel at the bottom for that. Does anybody else have any ideas for ways to use this?
The application as a whole.
Well, yeah, the application as a whole, or any of the features that we're looking at. Yeah, anything. Just trying to get some discussion going as well. So.
Yeah, well, I'm attending this session because I don't know anything about it, and I'm trying to figure out what it might be good for and what it wouldn't be good for. So I'm thinking I have classes where I would want to have a diplomatic simulation.
Okay.
Among countries.
Okay.
Say like the Syria conflict.
Yeah.
And players.
Okay.
Who are representing country teams.
Yes.
And so I'm either going to do that on a discussion board, a wiki, or maybe, I don't know.
So that actually segues into another tool that could be really good, that I think is a nice one, which is the breakout groups. So another thing that you can do, if you've got a session like this, is you can do breakout groups and you can create like smaller sub-sessions. So where you can have groups. So let's say you're doing like your Syria conflict. You could create some breakout groups. So you'll have a main room, and then you can set a number of other groups. And you can either randomly assign people. So, if you're doing like a group work thing, where maybe you just want to randomly assign out a couple of, maybe you've got 30 people and you want to assign out 6 groups. You can tell it to randomly assign, and under a number of groups, you could pick 6, and it'll put 5 students randomly into each group. If you want to do a diplomatic simulator, though, you might want to do custom assignment, and then you could name the groups. So let's say we could make a group that is like, I don't know, Assad and Russia. I don't know if that's actually like
That's good.
a group. And then we can do
Pro-Assad, anti-Assad.
yeah, and then we can do like anti-Assad. So you can make whatever groups, and then you can drag people into whichever group they're going to be in. So
Oh, really?
how would you guys be against Assad?
How did those names come out?
So that's when you go into create breakout groups, you'll get that's the list of everybody that's in the class right now. Is that? So what I did was I went to on the sharing menu, breakout groups, and then if you're on custom assignment up here.
Custom assignments when the names come up?
Yes, custom assignment is when the names come up.
Yeah, because I didn't see. Okay.
So yeah, let's go ahead and split up. I don't want to offend anybody by putting them on the Assad team. Is anybody volunteering to do this?
Sure.
Okay, right. We'll get a couple. It's always tricky when you're doing like political stuff. So you can drag everybody between, and so you can set up a different group for like your different I don't know, factions or teams or whatever. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to allow attendees to switch groups. So if you check that, then even just like regular participants that aren't the moderator can jump between groups. Now, by default, as moderators, you can already jump between the groups. So as an instructor, you can bounce between the groups once we split out. So let's go ahead and start this breakout group. So now it's going to split us up into our two teams that we've got going here. Now, as moderator, so I can see who's in each group, but I'm only going to be talking to the people whose group I'm in. So right now, I'm only talking to the anti-Assad folks. And then the Assad and Russia group, you guys can talk to each other, and so you guys you can strategize or do whatever. And then you'll see this little door next to any group that you're not a part of. I think you guys will see that as well because you're moderators, but maybe not. You have to try going over or try closing this. No, you still don't see. I wonder if it's a resolution setting. You're missing some controls.
I hear that a lot.
It is. We might have to take a look at your computer later and see what's going on. What web browser are you on? Out of curiosity.
Firefox.
Okay, it should be okay. Did you guys have? Oh, close that. So hit the little purple X. Okay, open it back up. Let's see. Go back on this. It should be showing you the main breakout groups. Maybe not. Maybe where I'm the one who generated the breakout groups, I'm the only one that gets to see that. Oh no, you've got. Pull up.
You're in empty
I didn't see any who's in.
Sorry. You have to go to the attendees panel. So the one with the people. If you go to the one with the people, then you'll be able to see the where you can join into different rooms. It automatically moved me over there, and I didn't realize. So if you hit the menu down here, and then this one with the people. There you go. And then if you want to join into a different room, you can just click this little door, and you can pop between the different rooms. Oh, so see, now we have somebody decided to switch sides, and so now we're into. And then there's also the main room, and then the main room stays there as well. So let's say you have a new student who joins into this session after you've done the breakout. They're going to drop into the main room first and then you can assign them to a different session if you want. And like I said, you could set, so like for your example, you might set students to be able to join in and leave their rooms. So someone might be like, okay, let's send someone over. Let's say you got like 4 or 5 different like teams. You might say like, go talk to this team. Let's see if we can work out a deal, and they could join into that room and then pop in and talk to them. They're going to do stuff like that. I think this could also be useful for, obviously for like group work. It could be good. You can also you can raise hands. So if you raise your hand, you can see in the list like who's raised their hand. So if you're doing group work, maybe somebody from group 3 has a question, they could raise their hand. And you could go from, whatever room you're in as the instructor into the group 3 room, and you could talk to them. I think you can also see if you do, if you mark yourself as confused or anything like that, you should be able to see that I'm confused over here in the anti-Assad room. I can see it as a complicated situation. So you can be confused or unhappy or happy. So you could use that as well, where you can see how people are doing in each of the rooms without having to join into each room and ask them. So I think that could be useful. And another thing that I know some people were talking about using this for is using Collaborate as office hours. So if you're doing like office hours through Collaborate, like I said when we were talking about the recording, if you're talking to a student about their grades, you might not want another student that jumps in, might come in the middle of that conversation, and so you might not. They might like overhear you being like, "Hey, like you just failed the last test" or something like that. And you obviously wouldn't want that. So what you might do is if you're going to talk about grades, you might make a breakout group with the student, so that you can talk there. And if another student joins in, they'll just come into the main room and wouldn't like accidentally overhear or something. So that'd be a possible use for this as well.
So we're able to go between because we're
Moderators, yes.
A student wouldn't be able to jump in between.
No, unless when you make the breakout groups, there's a box you can check to allow students to jump in between. So maybe if you want them to. So like maybe you're having a Collaborate session to plan one of your productions. So maybe you'll have maybe you make a breakout group and have one room be like set design and one room be like lighting or I don't know what stuff you do. But and then you might want, but for that there would be no reason for students. You wouldn't. Somebody from set design might need to pop over and ask lighting a question.
Right.
So you would probably want to let them like jump between sessions. But if they're working together, like against each other in a like diplomatic scenario, you might not want to let people do that because one group might be like, all right, let's send a spy over to the other group or something. Or you might want to allow that depending on how you want to.
Or in the office hours scenario, I would have a main room that I would monitor, and then when somebody came in, I would set up a separate conversation and place them in that.
Yes, exactly. That way you can have like a one-on-one conversation with the
So just
student.
me and that person in that.
Yeah, and then anyone else would come into the main room, if they joined in, and so that way they,
Or we can just private chat in the main room.
Or you could just private chat in the main room. That would work too if you just want to
But
type.
if I want to talk,
But if you want to talk and have a video conference, if you want to have the like, you really need to buckle down, like, conversation, like, you might not want to do that over chat. So
you are able to multitask and sort of have that breakout room,
yes.
talk to somebody, and then also at the same time be like, hey, noticed you pop in.
Oh yeah, I think
Student
so.
right
I
now.
believe if we go to the everyone
Quick, you
chat,
never come to work again.
yeah. Let's see if all of you see this message, even if you're in different areas in the everyone. If I send it in the everyone chat,
I see.
you did. Okay, cool. So yeah, so if you go to the everyone chat, you can send a message. So you can type to the student that just came into the main room and be like, "Hey, I'll be with you in 5 minutes. I'm finishing up." You could do something like that. That could also be good for when you guys are doing advising. If you're using an organization that has like 100 participants in it, you could be doing an advising with someone in the breakout room. So you have like an open advising through Collaborate hours where students can come in and ask advising questions. You could easily use it for something like that as well. So.
Is this something that? Oh, never mind. I'm nothing. I was gonna ask you a question that's already been answered.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking about like prospective students, but if I wanted to invite them to a session, I would just create that link and then send them that
Yeah.
email.
So if you go back to where you've got all the list of sessions to create the guest link, if you could just go to session options, one of the options is copy guest link, and that'll give you the guest link that you can then send in an email to anybody in the world, and they can then join in. So yeah, so a prospective student, you could send them the guest link to the Collaborate session, and then they can join in. And like I said, if they're on Chrome or Firefox, they shouldn't need to install anything. I would definitely recommend Chrome and Firefox. It doesn't play real well with Safari. I've tested it on Safari, and it sometimes works, but it's definitely not as good. You could also you've also got this dial-in number, the anonymous dial-in number that they just added for if you want them to join by phone. But then obviously they can't see you or do screen sharing or anything. They just would hear. Yeah.
If I wanted to find a tutorial, say on breakout groups, would there be something like that online?
There are some. I'm working on some, but I've been a little behind on that. But if you go to help.blackboard.com, they've got some as well. So when you go to help.blackboard.com, it's going to ask what kind of user. No, I don't want to take a survey. So you can say, like, I'm a college instructor. And then one of these options should be Collaborate Ultra Experience. And then you're going to moderate. And then you've got a whole bunch of different topics that you can get. Most of these, I think, have screenshots. I think some of them have some videos as well in here also. They also have Blackboard has a YouTube channel that's pretty good as well, that also posts a lot of tutorial videos.
So it's help.blackboard.com.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
pretty easy, right?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm working on some videos. I just don't have them together yet. It's been a hectic time with the rollout of this. And haven't gotten this all together.
Help.blackboard.com.
Yes. And you just kind of click. It'll keep asking you
Well,
questions.
I have a question again, and that is, on my screen, you are delayed.
Oh, am I?
Is
That might be because I have kind of clicked off of it. It's probably because we're all on the Wi-Fi though. Because it like any web conferencing on Wi-Fi, it's not going to be as good as wired.
Okay.
And we're all all right in the same spot.
Okay.
So like the way wireless routers work, they can only talk to one computer at a time, and they
Okay.
just switch real fast.
Yeah.
So if you get a bunch, so if you're in like a big lecture hall and 80 people are on the Wi-Fi, like the Wi-Fi is probably going to be really slow.
Mhm.
That's why this is a limitation of the Wi-Fi that we.
But if my students are all at home,
If they're all at home, they probably won't be having that issue. Though not everybody's internet access at home is at the same
right?
level. So then there's a lot of variables that go into that.
Do we have an I don't know this. Do we have an I know we expect students to have EKU email. We expect them to check EKU email. Is it an expectation that you would have access to a laptop or a computer that you would be able to?
It's actually in my syllabus that they're
Yeah.
expected to have all of that.
Okay.
It doesn't say a specific type of but they have to be able to have good connections, and I can't remember exactly what it says.
But is that up to us individually as instructors, or do we have
I think it's
EKU
by
policy?
program. I don't
Probably
think
by
there's a-
program.
I don't
would
think there's a
assume, 'cause
university.
It's a template that we have to,
Okay.
and we have to put in there on those online classes.
Yeah, because
You know, 'cause I
Oh,
could-
for
you
just for
could
the online
really
ones.
decrease a lot of student
Yeah.
grades
But
because they're
that's
always
different.
off and on and off and on because they don't have good connection.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking if they really looked at their syllabus, they'd realize that they gotta go do whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like if there were
I'm not
to,
that rigid,
Yeah.
but goodness.
could I reasonably say, hey, we're all going to just meet on here at class time? I guess it would depend on the snow day because sometimes it could be so severe you couldn't get to it.
Yeah. But and sometimes you might have power outages and things, which obviously could impact it as well. But you know, it'd be better than nothing. So you know, you could, you know, could still use it. But no, I don't think there's like a university policy that dictates having a computer. I think most students do have a computer, but
Well, this
I
one
don't-
says,
yeah.
it's a student's responsibility to have the following throughout the online program: adequate computer
For
compatibility,
online.
Yeah.
capability, high-speed internet, they have to have a camera, and they have to have a headset with microphones.
Okay.
So that's what that even says,
Headset with microphones. Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
You
I don't know
ladies are
why
from-
you couldn't use your,
You ladies are from eCampus?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's assumed. If you're taking.
well, I think eCampus has that same kind of wording to all of your.
so
all of their
in fact, this is an
programs.
e-campus
That's probably
syllabus. done.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, they should have been telling,
Yeah.
they should have said, yeah, that's what it's
Right. But I'm not sure about our own.
Okay.
But I don't think there's a policy like that necessarily for on campus. But there is always the phone connection, so to where you could send someone that
Right. If they couldn't join us face to face,
you could give them this dial-in number. they could dial in and at least get the audio. You know, they might not be able to see the presentation, but you know, they could at least.
Can I ask questions through that dial-in?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like being in audio only.
Okay.
So it'd be like being on a conference call. All right. Well, it looks like we've got a crowd of people waiting to move into the room here in 5 minutes. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Questions? I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, it was. How do you just log out? Do you just click the X at the top?
You can just click the X at the top. That's fine.
Okay, and